jungles of southern Mexico, there's a canyon considered to be sacred by the ancient people who once lived there. For 7 days, we'll travel down this river, navigating rapids, ruins, and vast cathedrals of the underworld. We're entering a world of ancient mythology, a world where the setting sun turns into the jaguar at night, to make battles with the shadows and the evil spirits, so the sun can rise again in the morning. This is a world that's been lost to time, but we're hoping to get a glimpse within.
Sometimes in life you make a snap decision, and only after a short while you find yourself in a completely new and unexpected situation. Only a month ago I saw pictures of this place, and right there on the spot I made the decision that I have to go as soon as possible. I don't think I've ever made a decision to come on a trip as fast as I did for this one. And now I'm here, standing beneath this waterfall at the head of a canyon in the jungle with hundreds of parakeets flying overhead. Just getting here has been a novel experience for me. Yesterday morning we arrived in this tiny village where we met a family who served us a beautiful breakfast of all locally grown food, including the coffee, the beans, and the papaya. And as we ate, some locals packed their things up on horses. Set out on a 2.5-hour journey over a rolling landscape down towards the river.
How you doing, Steve?
All right. This is like more intense for me than running a class 4 rapping.
I had never traveled on a horse like that before, and it was a really cool experience to start an expedition off that way. Once we got down to the river, we inflated our pack rafts and had a short paddle to set up camp at this incredible spot that we're here right now underneath this waterfall. This morning, I just woke up and I had the realization that I'm here, that I'm really in it. It's funny how that works sometimes. We're gonna get on the river right now. We got an incredible adventure ahead of us. For those who have traveled this river before, it's gained quite the reputation for being deceiving. It starts off as a benign day in warm water, can easily turn into a life-threatening situation. Flash floods, rock fall, and poisonous snakes in the grass. But in my opinion, this is how it should be with the world's great rivers. A little bit of danger needs to stand in the way when the reward on the other side is so immense.
My animal friends of the jungle, join me on an adventure. Woo!
So planning for this trip, I reached out to Steve, who I've been meaning to do a trip with for a long time. He has a ton of experience in the Canadian high north on crazy Arctic rivers, and I'm pretty sure he's so dialed in that he weighs less in total after he puts his backpack on.
Made for speed. That's why I invited him.
This is all I have.
He's so damn fast.
We're also joined with Conrad. Conrad knows the river like the back of his hand, which is going to be super useful to a place so rich as this. We're just not going to be able to experience it to the same level as we would without Conrad. So really pumped to have him.
These are the sustainable stoves that we build for families here. You can actually see soot residue from years prior where they would basically just have a 3-stone fire and an open flame. You can just imagine the effects of a woman or children who are, standing here cooking all day, every day and inhaling that smoke. More efficient, better for health, and less deforestation.
How many have you made?
We've pushed, I think, over 200 now, spread across 5 villages.
It is absolutely insane in here. It's hard because we're just really focused on the rapids and trying to make it to a specific spot before the night fades. But every once in a while I just look up and realize where I am. All throughout this rock, there's thousands of subterranean passageways. It's called a karst system. There's a huge jungle in the plateau above, and rainwater, which is slightly acidic, seeping down through the cracks of the soft limestone into a wild tangle of subterranean passageways until it emerges in the rock walls and faces into the river system below. And the process leaves massive caves that in this region, some of which are tens of kilometers long. There's something about imagining the journey of water through dark subterranean passageways, some of which humans will never see, that stirs my imagination. We're running out of daylight here, and my pack raft has a good hole in it. And we're about to do a mile-long rapid where we only really have one good line. We would really like to make it to a certain spot today, which would be really nice, but we'll see what we can do. Biggest rapid we've done yet. Definitely the most involved thing I've done in a pack raft. Excited for it and a little bit nervous, I must say, but here we go. Let's see what happens. This is definitely a serious rapid. To be honest, I like to make a good practice out of saying no. It just kind of makes me feel like I have a little bit of self-control, and now it's at the end of the day and feeling a little bit tired. I could definitely attempt this, and I'm 90% confident I could do it. But you know what? I just feel like portaging, so that's what I'm gonna do. Over the years, I've learned to respect myself more when I can say no and portage.
But is it true that you weigh less in total after you put your backpack on?
Yes. Yes, many of the items that I brought are filled with helium, which is actually anti-gravity gas. And as you put the backpack on, your feet will float roughly 1 to 2 inches off of the ground. And it's like, have you ever seen old movies with like Dracula when he just...
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And this is all true. I never, ever lie. I've never lied in my entire life. We clearly know that the megalodon carved their way through the limestone in order to connect the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. And that is how they led their children around the equator.
We see something up in the trees over there. I thought it was a monkey at first, but Conrad tells us that it's probably a kuachi. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Kuati. Just saw a pair of eyes looking down at us, and the branches started moving. Looks like he's gone though.
Well, not gonna lie, bit of a hectic day. I started the day by crashing my drone into a tree and losing it. That took us a bunch of time before giving up. You know, it wasn't the best way to start the day, but eventually we got on the water, went through a bunch of rapids, and I have to admit the rapids were a little bit more involved than I originally thought. Going through one of the rapids, I somehow got a puncture on my boat. I didn't really realize it at first, but it started to leak quite rapidly. And we made the mistake of not just fixing it there and then when I realized that my boat was punctured. And eventually I went through a rapid where I didn't have enough air in my pack raft, and it just sort of folded on me, and I went for a swim. So got to camp, had a quick little dinner, and I patched up the boat. Should be good to go for tomorrow. Really still figuring out this pack rafting thing. It's my first pack rafting trip, but I'm really excited to wake up tomorrow because there's something really special right behind camp here that we're gonna go and check out.
This is a region of the world where the ruins of ancient civilizations are built on top of the ruins of even older civilizations. And in the end, the jungle slowly takes it all back. Up on the plateaus above this valley, there are entire cities buried beneath the forest, some of which are almost certainly still undiscovered. This whole region is a patchwork of empires, rising and fading. There are archaeological sites in this valley dated back somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 years old, uniquely preserved inside the caves they were built in. It's a deep, complex history that stretches back far earlier than when the pyramids were built in Egypt. This was originally the homeland of the Zoque people, a culture we know surprisingly little about. Over time, their territory overlapped with the Maya. Then in 1494, the Zoque were invaded by the Aztecs from the north. And just 30 years later, in 1523, the Spanish arrived. Even today, archaeologists aren't sure whether these ruins are Maya or Zoque. We don't know when this was built, but who knows what other ruins this was built on top of.
Crazy being up here and looking out at this view, seeing the pottery. There's just something very visceral about it that kind of makes you feel the humanness in it. Sometimes you see ancient artifacts and they almost seem alien. It's hard to make that connection that it's a human thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago. What I found, what immediately struck me looking at this pottery is the imperfections in it and how there was a human sitting right here, carving in that pottery. What really resonates with me is trying to put myself in their mentality, how they saw the world. Sometimes you have an experience where there's just a little bit more of a connection to another world, another time, and that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm somehow reminded of my childhood back at home, playing tag on a cool summer night with fresh cut grass, the bugs swirling around the lights of the porch, hiding in behind shrubs and seeing the person who is it run past while your heart pounded, and then hearing excitement off in the distance when some other kid was caught. There's a feeling to summer as a child. The thing that gets me is you never really realize when the last time you played tag as a child is, or the last time you hung out with friends. And then being here in these ruins, I don't know how this came to an end, but it just made me think about how time has a way of sometimes carrying us past things without us knowing.
I don't know how I can express to you how crazy it is in here. It's just Nothing like I've ever experienced. Absolutely wild.
Not this one. So last night I patched up my boat pretty good, thinking I was good, and then we got about 200 meters and I realized there's another hole. We did the portage, we fixed it up, we waited a little while, but now I find out I have another bigger hole, and Conrad is being kind enough to make the fix for me right now. He's just done this 1,000 times before, it's just super quick. I don't know, at this point I don't know what's going wrong, but there's literally dozens of holes to my brand new pack raft. It is what it is, we're just making the time we can. As this canyon starts to narrow, it's just easier to conceptualize how this river runs along a fault line. Here in southern Mexico, we're actually in one of the most seismically active places in the world. All of this is caused by the interaction of 3 tectonic plates, the North American, the Pacific, and the Cocos plate. What I find wild is that the geologic dance of these 3 tectonic plates is probably the culprit for plunging the Earth into the last ice age. It's a crazy story, but we have to get moving again. I'm gonna have to tell you more about that later. Made a last minute decision to camp right here and super glad we did. Just got heavy jungle vibes and we actually came across this fisherman and his 2 sons. They got a whole bunch of fish stacked on a line right now and these kids are just having a blast swimming in the water while dad goes swimming. I'm really glad that we pulled over early tonight. Just kind of gives me the chance to just really enjoy this place the way it deserves.
Muy bien. Yeah.
¿Usted lo atraparon o tu papá? Estás fuerte.
Steve is being a little bit devious right now and getting these kids to help him work moving this wood across the river for him.
So the locals here believe that the jungle is inhabited by duendes, which are elves. And I found this out back when I was living in the village. One evening I went out for a walk in the jungle, and I must have been gone about 45-50 minutes. And when I got back to the house where I was staying, there was about 40 or 50 locals that had assembled, preparing a search party to go and look for me. And when I got back, they all had this shocked look on their face. And I said to them, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "Well, you shouldn't go out into the jungle at night. There's duendes." And I kind of started laughing, and I was like, "You're joking, right?" And they're like, "No, those are killer elves. Like, they'll kill you." People have gone into the jungle at night and not come back. They were dead serious about it.
I'll flush them out. I know where they are. What do they like?
They like tall, white,
tattooed men who are 50 years old?
Yeah.
That's the best.
It's the last supermoon of the year tonight. What that means is that the moon is in its closest part of its orbit around the Earth, almost 50,000 kilometers closer, or 30,000 miles closer than it would be at its farthest away. So in the night sky, the moon appears larger. Some people associate supermoons with geologic events such as earthquakes, but there's no real proof of that. There's something that really gets my mind singing when I think about gigantic oceans of magma being tidally shifted deep beneath me right now. With that in mind, I'm going to bed.
So apparently this one's called the Tower Slide.
This is one of the biggest rapids I've ever done for sure. Definitely the biggest in the pack raft so far. It's looking like a lot of fun, to be honest. A little bit of a bump and grind. We got a boulder garden here, but the drop off is fairly significant. Steve's up next, and then it's my turn. That was great. It was fun. Lots of fun. That was good. This place just keeps on getting more and more spectacular. It's crazy. If you look at the scour marks on the walls right here, they're definitely from floods, and you can just see how violent it would have to be to create this. It's amazing how violence and beauty just go hand in hand in the world so often. I realized that I never mentioned why the interaction of the three tectonic plates is so interesting and had such an outsized impact on the world. And that's because the interaction of the Cocos plate, the Pacific tectonic plate, and the North American tectonic plate all led to what is now called the Panama Isthmus, which formed about 3 million years ago. And the Panama Isthmus is basically what that strip of land between North America and South America is, called the country of Panama, basically. 3 million years ago, North America and South America were not attached to one another, and water currents were able to flow between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. When the Isthmus of Panama was formed, it blocked off those water currents. It plunged the Earth into the ice age that we currently find ourselves in. It's kind of crazy that a small little strip of land could have such an outsized impact on the world's temperature.
It is just so crazy in here.
This is the highest cliff face of the trip, 440 meters, half a kilometer. It's kind of getting into that hard to comprehend territory, or maybe it's just my tiny little brain, or maybe a little bit of both. We're about to go off into the jungle over here to go deep inside a cave. I've been going through this canyon, and every once in a while I'm reminded that this is a world of mythology, where animals like the deer, the serpent, and the jaguar are worshipped.
In this valley, the skeletons of 10 children have been discovered, all of which were found in or near the entrances of caves. Archaeologists believe that these burials are the result of human sacrifice. For the ancient people of Mesoamerica, caves are considered to be a passageway to the underworld. It's a place where the gods could be flattered or angered. A place of ritual and sacrifice.
Oh my God. Crazy. Apparently people will come in here and break pots to make an offering to the deities who live in the caves.
I really want to know what it was like for the people who came here 1,000 years ago. What was on their mind when they were navigating these passageways? What did they come here to say to their gods? What answers were they looking for? What hopes and fears would bring them here into this darkness? And most importantly, did they find what they're looking for?
What's behind me is what I've been told the femur of a human. Whether this is a place of a sacrifice or a burial ground, I don't know. But I've been thinking a lot about the topic of human sacrifice and what it would be like to be in that mindset and doing that potentially to somebody you know or love. But I think it's a topic that needs to be treated with the maximum amount of empathy. What would you do if the rains never came and your crops were barren and your children were hungry and your gods demanded sacrifice?
Wow.
That thing's got some spikes on it.
What is the word sacred? What does it mean to be sacred?
Rarity, uniqueness, power maybe. Maybe it's something that gives life, gives death.
You can't tell someone else that something is sacred. The same way that I'm thinking back to different religions and you say this God is sacred. It's like it doesn't matter. You have to feel that something is sacred. You have to want to worship it or hold it in high regard in your life.
I've been thinking about this, that's why I asked that question. And to me, something sacred is something that gives you access to something that is beyond words. It's a feeling of feeling connected closer to the world. A moment, you know, a fleeting moment into a connection where there's just that feeling where you're part of something bigger. Back on the water, we got about a 25-minute paddle before the biggest portage of the trip.
Oh, the battle was real.
This right behind me is called a sieve. It's extremely dangerous to kayakers and whitewater boaters. What's happening is that water is rushing underneath this rock. If you were to be flushed into this, the water would keep on moving and pin you into a hole potentially underneath the water. Sieves are one of those things you always got to be watching out for on the river.
For whatever reason, I'm reminded that this light beaming through the canyon is coming from a convulsing ball of plasma 90 million miles away. Just simple geometry, just on an incredible scale. And here we are, exploring this little tiny scratch on the surface of our tiny little planet. A planet where light beams are hitting the surface of and reflecting back deep into the universe. To who knows where. It's really hard to describe how cool this is. It just feels so alive in here.
Somehow I feel like a child right now. You know when the world is new and you haven't done something 1,000 times before? Everything is fresh. The world is a bright, happy place.
It's so hard to describe the feeling of being in here right now. It's not just the height, it's the sound of the space. The raindrops dripping from 158 meters above us. Just the sense of space, you know, the ambience. My voice reverberating, and just even the presence of the air moving through here. It's just hard to describe. misty morning, and it's our last one in the canyon. We're going to make it back to the massive arch, and we're gonna Jumar up some 26 meters of ropes, and then ascend around 400 meters out of the canyon in potentially really muddy and slippery slopes with heavy packs, which I am not looking forward to. But luckily at the top we have some horses that should be waiting for us there. I am not looking forward to that hike up this hill right now in the rain. It's gonna be muddy, heavy, and gross. But at least it's super beautiful. So we're meeting two locals who are bringing down some ropes. They're gonna throw it down and we're gonna set up a system and haul our stuff up and then haul ourselves up. So Conrad's going up the rope first to fix some lines to basically haul our gear up, and then we're up next. Hola. Hola. How you doing? Good, good.
Max? No.
Yeah, Max, yeah.
Max.
Yeah. What, name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien.
Yeah.
So you remember these guys? Well, after my trip was done, they found out that I lost my drone. So they took their horses down to the river. And incredibly, after an entire day of searching, they found it. I could not be more grateful to them, as well as Conrad, who had a spare drone on the trip and was actually good at flying it.
I think we're almost at the top.
So last night we came into a small village in the jungle and we arrived at a woman's house named Elsa who served us a beautiful meal. Sleeping on the floor of the living room and the rain pattering on the tin roof. There's just something very soothing about it. This morning we had an absolutely wonderful tortilla breakfast, all homemade ingredients. It's just been such a treat to be invited into this home and just see different ways of living. Conrad actually stayed with Elsa for about 3 months years ago and knows this village and family really, really well. And so you started an expedition company to help, build more stoves. How many stoves have you built?
We've built over 200 stoves now in surrounding villages.
That's insane.
Canyon.
And so if you're interested in doing a trip like I just did or other trips like that,
and also maybe having some positive impact, check out Nahua Expeditions, go to their Instagram page, or check them out on a website. There's just cascading positive effects from this, so I absolutely love it. Thanks, man. Going down this river, a place that's considered sacred to the people that inhabited it. I've been thinking a lot about what that word means in the modern context of the world that we live in. It's kind of hard to know where something sacred fits in. But let me tell you that this river, there was moments that I just have no way of putting into words.